BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. And today, I would like to hand the microphone over to my co-host, Santara, and I'm bringing her on right now. And it's taking a while to bring her on, I see. Can we do a sound check? Mary Jean, Cole, Vincent, Lana Seeker, let's do a quick sound check here, make sure everybody's coming through okay. Go ahead and begin to type. Yeah, thank you. I saw that. Go ahead and write something down that says you can actually hear us and that we're not just talking to the air while we're on air. Okay, Mary Jean says we're coming through okay. Santara, I want you to give your experiences right now of unconditional love. Begin.
Okay. Whoa. Unconditional love. My goodness, I didn't expect that. Okay. Unconditional love in the context of the Kundalini. Unconditional love is something that I had to grow into. Unconditional love is given to the Kundalini without question. It is something that flows from me now. I don't question the Kundalini. I love the Kundalini regardless of what happens in my process. That hasn't been easy to do all the time. It still isn't, you know. I'm not saying I have arrived or I'm at the top of the mountain or anything, but I have a far better expression of that now. When my process started first, sometimes it was really, really difficult, and so I would be inclined to be struggling, with what was being given to me. Things like the safeties were how I began to understand more about what unconditional love was. So let me try and think of an example. If I'm just blank, guys. Sorry, but if something was going on for me, thank you, Chrism.
Okay. I just wanted to see how well you could tap dance about that with that subject.
Didn't do very well. Sorry.
It's all right. All right, I'm going to put you into the sacred male blue. Here we go.
Thanks.
So, unconditional love. Unconditional love is one of the qualities of the Kundalini that will certainly come to a person, definitely within the idea and the experience of the spinal sweep, which, for those of you who may not know what a spinal sweep is when the Kundalini completely unlocks all the chakras, opens them up as wide as they can go, sweeps up the spine typically from the base of the spine, sweeps up the spine. The whole spinal cord has a sensation of being filled with energy. The person can become very, very straight in their back, but actually, typically, it's more of an arched process. Your back is arched, and you are actually becoming at one with divinity. And so you're at one with God, Goddess, and you are actually having an experience that places you at one with all creation, whether it's just a frond floating on the wind, or a piece of thread that's been tossed onto the ground, or every aspect of creation, one becomes intimately absorbed within, and this changes one's life, always for the better. But it also increases, the levels of unconditional love. And what does that mean? Let's just look at the words here. Let's just look at the word unconditional. That means without condition. And what does without condition mean? That means a person isn't placing an ideology or an event or a personal situation, whether it's a fear of loss or a want of gain type of situation. All those things are out. It's unconditional. That means you love without condition. You love without condition, and that love is where the divine language truly begins to be spoken within you. Because divine love really is, in many ways, unconditional. The laws of karma will control your life and the probabilities, the patterns of probabilities that will exist within your life. I mean, you'll have various options to choose from. So, for instance, a child born in Africa with starving parents, unless the goal for that individual is to learn what it is to die as a starving child, well, that child will be given definite probabilities of life and the acquisition of food and water into their lives so that they may continue their journey. That is an action of the laws of karma within the unconditional love that divinity expresses for us. This whole world here is an act of divine love, of unconditional love. Yes, we're in a very, very tough world. It's a tough world of predation and one species taking energy from another species and another species taking energy from those two species, and so on and so forth as we go up the food pyramid. But the scenario truly is that these activities of power being processed through acquisition is also love, unconditional love, being used as a point of processing, as the point of even being on this world. So the whole idea and expression of unconditional love is the point where we are trying and to evolve into. And so you need to look at the idea of love that you have and what constraints and what constrictions of meaning and understanding do you have around the idea of love. Is it just romance? Is that all you? Is that what love is to you? It's like, oh God, that guy is so hot, or that girl is so hot. I am so in love with that person because they're so hot. Is that where you are with love? Like, this is like Amelia. Okay, let's just face it. I mean, I had to say it. I cannot not allow her to defend herself on that. Is that right,
Amelia? Let me not defend myself. Let me listen to that and sit silently.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, is that all? Is that what it is? Is it really about the procreative urges that a person is feeling? Is that love? Is love basically a combination of chemistry within a person that says, oh, okay, time for you to reproduce, time for you to look for a mate, time for you to accept your biological responsibilities of replication, et cetera, and so forth. And I'm going to suggest that unconditional love is without condition, and so it's without those qualities of expectation where we get the idea that we must look for a mate. And, in the American context, the great American dream that was espoused in the 60s and 70s, 1960s, 1970s, the White House with the picket fence, the cat, the dog, the kids, the job, the boat in the driveway, and the car in the driveway too. And so it's not about that. It includes that because, once again, we're not putting a condition on it. But as love is expanded through the unconditional awareness and expression of it, it too changes its force and focus upon an individual. And when we look at it within a Kundalini context, it's extremely expanded in its contact and contrast to the basic levels of romantic love that people have become so used to and are driven to by their biology and by their emotions and by their karma. Unconditional love means without condition, and so as you give love to the Kundalini. There is no blockage. There is nothing saying that, yes, Kundalini, I love you so much, but I have to have new shoes every day, or I won't love you if I don't get to have a new pair of shoes every day. Okay, I'm just using that as an example. Or, Kundalini, I love you, I give myself to you, but I want that Maserati. Okay, now, if I can't have the Maserati, then I'll settle for a Lamborghini. That's what I like to call them, Lamborghinis. But I think it's also called a Lamborghini. But I like to call them Lamborghinis. It's just me. And so, you don't get to preface love, unconditional love, with a want or a desire or a complaint or a condition. Okay, some people, they really, they get into these periods where they're not feeling that they're getting recognized in a positive way, and their ego is yearning for them to be recognized as a powerful person, or as a person of merit, or a person of high standing or high quality within a community, and so their ego is striving for that. And if they don't receive that, and if they were in any way, maligned, or they feel like they were maligned by another person, and they're getting into their resentments for not being acknowledged the way they expect to be acknowledged. Well, once again, you're putting a condition in front of unconditional love, and it really places the individual into a person where they're trapped by their ego-based wants and desires, and they're not allowed, and they're not allowing themselves to expand beyond the conditioned response of, well, I think I'm so important that I should just be dealt with royally every time, the red carpet every time. I want to know. And I want to be able to get at those people that have caused me. I want some revenge, baby. Well, of course, now we know that we're talking way outside of unconditional love. Love that is unconditional is very, very, very strong, and yet it is also very, very wide in its application for an individual. No longer are you confined to loving your family and loving your friends and loving puppies and kittens and things of that nature. Now you're expanded into loving everything without conditioning, the worms, the maggots, the viruses, the bacteria, the fungi, the life forms that we don't even know exist yet, the dirt, the mud, the water, the air. We are loving all of creation, the radiance of light that visits us from the stars every night as the sun is on the other side of the world. And so we are visited by love, and by that visitation, so are we expanded into love. And this is the crux. This is the crux of the scenario. When you have the spinal sweep and you become at one with divinity, so does your love become expanded into the format of a divine love, because you are at one with divinity, and so this divine love becomes at one with you. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll stay encased in flesh and within as a divine expression within flesh. To some degree, yes, of course, that is occurring with the Kundalini, but at first it's very, very hard to be able to hold levels of divine love for some folks. For other folks within the Kundalini, very, very, it's a matter of course. Of course, I have unconditional divine love in my life now, and I have it for every form of creation, whether I know the name of that creation or not. I have love for every wisdom that a human being speaks, every complaint that a human being speaks, every issue that is of the humans, is of the non-humans, is of excorporeal life. And I have divine love for all creation, and that includes all creation, all the creations of men, whether it's good or bad, all creations of ET, whether it's good or bad, all creations of divinity, and that is always good. So where are you in your experience of divine love? Where are you with that? How is it that you're holding and having and expressing divine love? Are you paying attention to your Kundalini? Does your Kundalini come to you in a dream with very specific instructions saying, okay, you're going to have to write every day, and okay, you're going to have to do something else every day. You're going to have to show yourself in some way every day. Do you honor that, or do you go, wow, was that an entity? Because, I don't really want to have to write every day. Oh, my God. And so do you start to condition that love to flavor your sense of pleasure, your sense of ease, your sense of self-complacency? So look out for that. Look out for your ego stepping in and going, oh, wait a minute. You could just write one word, and it's officially you're writing something. You could write the, and there you go. You qualified it. Okay. So watch out for the ego trying to oversimplify things, to get in your way, and to use your pleasures and your complacency as a tool of corruption. It's not just entities that corrupt things. It's your ego that is really, really about, corrupting the process, because it likes things, the status quo. It likes things how they are right now, don't need to change. Thank you very much. And even with that ego expression, your unconditional love also encompasses that. It's just that the love that the divine love chooses not to honor that. You've all heard, I think, at least in the States, I'm not sure about other parts of the world, but in the United States we have a term here called tough love. Tough love is when you have to punish the child so they don't run into the street. Stand by here, so you need to turn something off here. Oh, I see. Jeez Louise, how do you do that? Okay. So tough love is so that you have to make a corrective indication for yourself or for another person that does not involve pleasure, that does not involve complacency. That can be hard. That can be, in some ways, hurtful, because in our world, we can be so distracted with so many different things that coming our way. The television, the radio, the music, the job, the family, the education. All of the different things can coalesce and can really distract a person away from these types of things. And you really need to just focus in on it. The most important thing in your life right now is your Kundalini. That is it. It surpasses every other condition, every other situation that a person living on this world finds themselves within. That includes family. That includes job. That includes career. That includes just living on this biosphere. Kundalini is the source of all of those things, including your family. Don't forget. So within the Kundalini divine, unconditional love is a law. It is a law of grace that we, as we come into grace, need to begin to live from. And unconditional love also means unconditional trust. It means unconditional surrender. We're sounding more and more like two field marshals on a battlefield saying, well, are you having unconditional surrender? And Field Marshal A asks Field Marshal B. Field Marshal B goes, well, I am. Are you? And so, in this context, they'd come together and hug. And so would all the soldiers come together and give each other a big hug. Say, what were we fighting about? I don't know. But now we're practicing unconditional love, and it doesn't really matter anymore. Well, so does it not matter in your life, too. As you practice the unconditional love, as you begin to live your life from a premise of Kundalini-infused unconditional love, okay, this brings levels of change into your life, and that level of change will obfuscate or really diminish the importance of what you may have been fighting to preserve, of what you may have been wanting to do or not do, or having something done to you that you didn't want, or having something done to you that you do want. And so as you take out the conditional aspect of the love, you replace it with a confidence of the non-conditional aspect of the new Kundalini love that's pushing its way through you, that's changing itself, that's infused with you. It's really like a divine stamp, a divine tattoo upon each of the chakras. Each of the chakras. And so, and even if you've only had an activation all the way up to your fifth, which is a very typical scenario, even within that activation, when it's incomplete, but it's there. There is a divine stamp upon each of those chakras as you're moving forward into your sixth and your seventh, awaiting that primary spinal sweep. So now, if you have any questions about this, I'm going to invite you to give a call. The number is area code 347. That's a New York City area code, 347, and then the number is 934-0026. So 347-934-0026. And feel free to call in with any of the questions that you might have. I'd like to welcome everybody here. I'd like to welcome the people in the chat room. Hello, everybody there. I'd like to welcome people calling in on their phones. Hello, everyone there. I'd like to welcome people who are listening in the archives, you future people, and I'd like to welcome people who are listening right now on their computer. And so let us continue. Within the understandings of conditional or unconditional love, you need to really begin to step outside of the call and response of how you live your life. So cause and reaction to cause. Needs to become changed in a way. If somebody does something that irritates you or cuts you off, well, then you forgive them. And forgiveness is an aspect of unconditional love. Tolerance is an aspect of unconditional love. Patience is an aspect of unconditional love. And love itself has so many variants within itself. It is this gem with an endless capacity of facets upon it, each facet containing an individual expression of love that ties in to the entire expression of love. One of the core areas of love, really, in truth, is the unconditional quality of love. We love unconditionally from the Kundalini context. Doesn't mean that we don't help people make corrections. It doesn't mean that we don't go in and we interact with people in a way that they can understand, because we need to go to their level of understanding in order to help them come up to a greater level. It doesn't mean that we don't do that. It just means that in our personal life, in the way we live our life, we choose to let Kundalini take the forefront position. We choose to allow the expression of the divine Kundalini expressing through us. We choose to embrace that divine, unconditional love quality, that it will constantly push in front of us. And so this involves a huge level of trust, and it involves a willingness to allow the life to be changed. It allows these things so that greater and greater and greater levels of divine, unconditional love can be experienced by the person. I really invite all of you to do this. Everybody that's listening to this program, whether it's in the future or right now as we're recording this live, I want you to just take a moment and think about how you can bring an expression of divine love into greater expression through you in your life, with other people, with the animals, with the plants, with the maggots, with the detritus on the forest floor, with the exudate of the digestive tract that you might be walking by, because people walk their dogs on that path. I mean, you become everything, and you become at love or in love with everything. And this brings us to that quality that is bandied about so much in our spiritual societies right now. It's like, we are one. We are one. One. We are WON. or O-N-E. We are one. And it does bring that quality of oneness, even though we are plural and singular at the same time. But it does bring that quality of oneness to you. When you have the ability to practice and express unconditional love, well, unconditional means there's no condition. And without condition, it is love in its purest form. Love in its most expansive and contracted, pure form of love. The highest form of love that we as a corporeal species can really bring into ourselves and out of ourselves into the environments of others. And this is not based in the body, the corporeal body. Of course, you as a soul, you're based in your body, but as this body passes, so does this love stay with you, because it's part of the Kundalini imprintation. So the Kundalini imprint that follows you into life after life after life after life after your first spinal sweep of having the Kundalini ever, right? That very primary first spinal sweep, which puts that stamp of unconditional love on each of the chakras and therefore upon all 7 components of the primary corporeal energetic body. Well, then that unconditional love tattoo follows you also into the other lives, and you begin to be given karmic duties that would involve having unconditional love for everything. And I remember as a child, my mother, she married a guy that was a farmer out in the middle of Northern California. It was really out in the middle of the country. I mean, the closest tiny little town was like 9 miles away. And so as a child, I would walk out. We probably a little TMI here, but we had an Indian burial grave site that was about 3 acres. It was huge, and it was really that cemetery dirt, where the soil is so soft. I mean, you could almost plunge your hand into it, and it wouldn't stop you until you got up to the elbow. Very, very, very soft dirt, and it just amazed me. It's like, how would it not blow away? But somehow it wouldn't blow away. And anyway, as a child of like 9 years old, I would go out there, and I had that Kundalini, residual Kundalini expression coming through me at the time, and I was feeling the urge to talk to God or talk to spirituality in the limited ways that I could understand it at the time. But I knew, at the age of 9, I had been well experienced with having discarnate entities show up and being taught certain things within the out-of-body state and plenty of experiences with that. And so in a way, as I would ride my horse out onto the grave site, or what they call an Indian mound. So I would ride my horse out onto the Indian mound, and then his name was Sparky, and I would just let Sparky kind of go, and he'd just walk around, do whatever he wants to do. And I would sit there in easy pose, and I would say, spirits of the universe, send me a gift. And I always received a gift. It manifested itself right there in front of me, and I felt such a communication and a communion with all life when I would do that. I felt the alpha and the omega. I felt I was given special words when I was out there that I can't repeat. And I was given very, very special thoughts and intuitions and instructions that were always positive and that were always moral, and that had that patina of unconditional love attached to them. And I'm not saying that I didn't have a lot of karma to go through and a lot more of the last 2 Kundalini experiences that I had previous to this incarnation. I had a lot to do and a lot to deal with, but I also had that unconditional love to pull me along, to help me as I experienced life, the life of a kid growing up on a farm with all of the the different animals, from peacocks to doves to cats to dogs to cows to horses to pigs to sheep to chickens, and then all the wild critters, the little owls, all the different birds and sparrows, and the foxes and the coyotes and the deer, and all of those things, and let's not forget the plants and the fungi, and everything was there, and you got to partake of everything. I would walk out in the middle of a rainstorm, and if I was the only one around the house, I would shuck off my clothes and I'd walk out into the middle of an 80-acre alfalfa field and just let the rain pour down on me, and I just loved it. And that also really accentuated my connection to the earth. Didn't know about Kundalini, but I just knew it felt really good. And it also encouraged a level of unconditional love that I would express towards all life around me. This is when I first started to really question the idea of the American ideology that if there's a plant growing in your yard that doesn't match up with your lawn, then it's called a weed, and that naming that plant a weed is basically a death sentence for that plant. Well, I started out looking at things like that because I had that level of unconditional love from previous Kundalini experiences, and so my levels of love were very, very, very expanded, and this followed me into school too. I had friends from almost every clique and every little inner high school, junior high society that existed, except for the ones that were really, really violent. I tended not to go there, which doesn't mean that I didn't get in fights. Of course, I got in fights. Sometimes I won, sometimes I lost, but I got into them. And you might wonder, well, how did you get into a fight, Chrism, if you were having so much unconditional love? Well, unconditional love means that you stand up for things sometimes, and sometimes you have to stand up for them, and really stand up for them in that way. In a way that defends them and defends your morality and defends your ethics and defends your friends or your family or that animal or that insect. I would fight to defend a butterfly when I was a child. So, unconditional love will follow you life after life after life. And what a blessing that it does. And let's look at the maternal understandings of love. How unconditional is the love of a mother for a child, is the love for a father for a child. That child can do no wrong for a certain amount of time until corrective measures need to be taken. And then even those corrective measures are expressions of unconditional love, because we do have to train our kids to learn how to live in this society, to learn how not to walk out in front of a car, to learn how not to put your hands on that hot iron or on that hot stove. And so certain levels of shall we say, definitive coercion need to occur. And this is also encompassed within the understanding of unconditional love. You just need to become a point of love within this Kundalini life. I want to invite you all to become this point of divine love in your Kundalini life. And you don't have to have the Kundalini awakened in you to start. You don't. You just start doing that, and then that may become an eventuality for you. I'm not going to guarantee it, but it may become an eventuality for you as you practice this divine love. Think about this. Think about how expanded you can bring your love into a corporeal and emotional expression from you onto this world, onto this cosmos, onto this galaxy, onto all the other galaxies that we see exist by virtue of the Hubble telescope. But start with yourself. Love yourself unconditionally. And then love what you can do for other people in a loving way. Help your kids become unconditional. Feel the love for all creation, all animals. I know some of you really aren't animal people. You've lived your life in such a way that it's been all about people and not about animals. Yes, you ate the flesh of animals. Yes, you ate the flesh of plants. Yes, you may have eaten the flesh of different fungi and taken the tears of grace that we call water, taking that into your system. But it's all been about you and whether if you're in a spiritual system, well then you're working that spiritual system, and doesn't include animals, because some book that was written 2,000 years ago doesn't say that you can have animals as a point of unconditional love, and so therefore you don't. Well, for those of you that do not have animals, plants, fungi, dirt, puddles of water on your agenda as being deserving of unconditional love, then I want you to expand your love to include those areas. It's not all about people. And it certainly isn't about a text written 2,000 years ago, by people that are long dead, that doesn't recognize the unconditional aspect and expression of love upon all creation, not just selected creation. This is where religion really gets us into a lot of trouble, is like, some religion will pick out an animal. Let's just call it a robin. Robin is a bird. It's a bird that has red feathers on the front and under itself, and then some brownish feathers over that. So let's just say the religion of Chrisiosity, the Chrisiostics. They all get off on the robin, right? They just, oh God, we love the robin. We love the color of her eggs. It's blue, it's the color of the sky. And so the great robin in the sky is blessing us every day and allows the sky to be there and allows the earth to be there. And we create this whole creation myth about the sacred robin and how the sacred robin has given us our life and blah, 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 but at the expense of horses and tigers and cheetahs and fish and insects and other birds and people, and it all becomes about the sacred robin. And so these Chrisiostic people, they just need to really expand their love. But not everybody is in that position to do so. Religions exist because not everybody is in a position to accept and work with divine that is within them and that is also expressing itself outside of them. And so as we take ourselves from these very, very, very tightly controlled, tightly constricted spiritual pursuits and bring ourselves into the expanded ocean, the limitless, unparametered expression of unconditional love, well, we expand our spiritual understandings as well. We expand our spiritual understandings because now we are as God is. We are learning from the inside out to be as God is. And this is one of the first steps, really, is to find levels of expanded love that you can express on a daily and nightly basis in your life. So we're going to bring Her Holiness back online here. Hello?
Hi, Chrism.
Do you have anything to add to that, my dear?
Well, I didn't do too badly when I said it was about no conditions. There's so much in what you said, and it resonates. I mean, I can remember when I had my final sleep and that merging and that effortless and unconditional love that I felt. And I love what you said, that it was a stamp that has always been with me. But I think what actually happens is I have been learning how to be in unconditional love without it being graced and gifted so beautifully to me. Because I suppose, my ego has conditions, and it has lots and lots of years of expressing those conditions. And I suppose that's, the practices and the safeties and what you said there about, bringing it into my daily life, things where I'm expressing unconditional love, that merges with the spiritual unconditional love as well. I mean, okay, so what I'm feeling, Chrism, is that there's something coming to me. It's like the difference between, no, it's gone, it's gone, it slipped from me. And it'll come back again in a minute. Yeah. It's just such an amazing topic, isn't it? And it's something that we're learning all the time, unconditional love. It's not something that is, and it's something for myself that I move in and out of. I mean, sometimes...
Why do you move out of it?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Sometimes,
I suppose when we're directing, can I put it like that maybe? If I'm directing from myself, expressions of unconditional love, so I appear to be in control of it. I'm choosing this, I'm choosing to do that, I'm choosing to do the other. I am expressing unconditional love to all things. However, in a Kundalini context, when Kundalini loves me unconditionally, and let's say I'm the reception, I am receiving that unconditional love, it's about opening to that, to be able to receive the unconditional love of the Kundalini, whatever that is, without any buts, without any resistance, and accepting everything. And I suppose that's the ebb and flow of how I experience it in my life.
Very nice, very nice. My dear, I think we have a caller down there at the bottom there.
I shall go check.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, and let's look at unconditional love just straight within the Kunalini equation. Just for those that are activated or awakened or becoming activated, on that path to becoming activated. And it is a strong, for those that are just coming in, wanting to have the Kundalini come up into them, unconditional love is one of the strongest forms of inner correction that you can possibly give yourself. It's a great training on what it is to receive a divine energy, a divine consciousness within your system. The more unconditional love you have, the greater the possibilities and the potentials are for the Kundalini to come up in a person. And when a person is already activated, working, as I've been mentioning, towards the spinal sweep, that unconditional love, that unconditional love for Kundalini itself can drive one to do the various practices and mechanisms of activation that the Kundalini requires in that individual person. I have one student right now who does literally 3 hours of practice of towards the Kundalini a day, and has been doing so for years. And because this person is working with levels of unconditional love, their process is moving very, 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 very quickly. And this is really, really outstanding for that person, because you can actually see the changes that are occurring within, the levels of confidence that are building within them, the levels of competency with having a divine quality of love expressing through them, how that is forming. I really suggest strongly for anybody that is interested in the Kundalini or is already activated to have the divine unconditional love as an expressive element in their relationship to their society and to this world that they're living on. It's very, 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 very important. For those of you that already have the Kundalini awake within you, and you've had the spinal sweep, and you felt the divine love itself, you know that what I'm saying is absolutely true. And if you have been slipping, which is possible, if you have been slipping in your expression of divine unconditional love, or just unconditional love itself, Use this as a reminder. Use this program, this show, this radio show right now as a reminder to get back on track with that. We are never done with Kundalini awakening while we still have corporeal expression, i.e., we still have a human body. We are not done. The changes are continued. You've got to remember that we're living inside of a species and a population on a world that is behind a veil of forgetfulness. In other words, for the human being, you just get to have those five senses. You don't necessarily get to remember your past lives. You don't necessarily get to remember how things were before you took the body. You don't necessarily, unless you're having Kundalini come with you, from a previous expression, you don't necessarily get to know anything. You have to start from scratch. And even with the Kundalini people, their Kundalini comes with them. It's not giving them all the answers to the multiverse. You notice I didn't say universe, but multiverse, because we are two and we are one and we are one and we are two, and therefore we are two and one at the same time. But aside from that, the Kundalini will give itself to you, but it won't give you all the answers to your inquiring, ego-based mind. That you have to awaken the current body that you're in right now. Then, you're in line to get those answers. I won't say that it's going to absolutely give every answer to every question you have ever asked. Didn't do that for me. I don't know why I would suggest it for anybody else. Now, when I have legitimate questions right now to ask, I typically will get an answer, but not at the beginning, not even after the first primary spinal sweep. And you can have more than one spinal sweep. I say primary spinal sweep because that's the very first one. You only get one first time. And that's the very first one that I'm talking about. And so it's very important for you to practice unconditional love. And you hear this bandied about all over the internet right now. It's, I love you unconditionally. Oh my God, we're one. And typically from Ireland. You hear this a lot out of Ireland lately.
Okay, I'm going to defend myself this time. Oh, you're funny.
So we have Beatrice has a question. So I'm going to go over to Beatrice.
Yeah, it's a choice. Sorry, I'm speaking over you. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. It's a choice.
I mean, that's the bottom line, isn't it?
No,
is it?
That is not the bottom line.
Okay, so if I say unconditional love is a choice that we make, that's not the case?
No.
Okay.
It's a choice that makes us.
Yes and no, though. I mean, do we not have to choose every day to...
Doesn't choosing apply or imply a condition?
No.
Yes, it does. It applies. You have the choice to do or not do, right?
Okay.
But in the context of our conversation, I think people can probably understand it better within the context that you're talking about it with. So yeah, I will take that as a yes. And
I'm not talking about the spinal sweep. I'm talking about the practical, the everyday practices that do.
From the perspective that you mentioned, I'd say choose to have unconditional love and allow that unconditional love to open you up. So let the unconditional love do you at the same time that you do it. And I'm not sure you have so much of a choice in that one. Once you start practicing unconditional love, you don't necessarily get to walk backwards across the bridge. It's love is not all one and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, okay, thank you. You have a question there from Beatrice when you're ready, Chrism.
Thank you, my dear. Putting you in the blue and bringing her into the red.
Hello, Chrism.
Hi, how are you?
Happy New Year.
And to you. And to you, my dear.
I wanted to ask you a question. I wanted to know, when you see a picture of somebody with a lot of eyes all over, what does that mean?
With a lot of what?
Eyes all over their head.
Oh, like they have like open eyes all over their head?
Yes.
That's kind of cool, first of all. That's the first thing it means to me is, oh, pretty cool. What's the context of the picture?
It was a holiday picture, and two family members came out with eyes all over their head, on their forehead and on their head.
So just 3 eyes?
More than 3 eyes.
Well, I think that's an indication of well, are they, well, first of all, that can mean anything. That can mean, you know, the all-seeing, you know, all-knowing, that type of thing. In a Kundalini context or a spiritual context, that can also that can be an indication of the different petals on the 1,000-petaled lotus, each being an eye. It can also indicate the eyes of grace that are always open, that are always upon us, that are always seeing everything that we do, everything that we think. And I'm getting the feeling that this is more along the lines of what they were intending when they sent those pictures. I think it's the all-seeing quality of the divine that is around us and that we are composed of. That's what I think is happening with that, Beatrice.
Okay.
Does that jive with anything that happened for you?
Well, both of the people who have the eyes all over, they have Kundalini, so they're not. I'm not too sure. I didn't know what to make of it. If it meant that they were
how do you know they have Kundalini?
Oh, they have all this the symptoms that I have, and they feel the energy coming out from the crown chakra, and they had blockages. They went through all of the symptoms, physical symptoms that I went through in the beginning of my activation. I'm still in activation, and so are they. Well, one person, the other one,
they haven't had their spinal sweeps yet then, right?
No, one is a child and the other one is an adult. And I believe that it's just so, I didn't know what to make of it when I saw the photograph, and I just didn't know if it meant that they were about to be awoken, because they're still in activation.
Well, yeah, activation is you know, that is a driving force that drives a person to work towards the spinal sweep. So for them, because they have the Kundalini awareness, for them, I would say that is far more reflective of the crown chakra and the 1,000 petals, each having one eye on each petal of the crown chakra, which there's a lot more than 1,000, but we just use that as an understanding to get our minds around it. So yeah, so they're basically showing you that they know, that they understand, that there's a level of visual understanding that they get with regards to the to their Kundalini and to the picture that they're showing, that in many ways I think is representing their Kundalini activated status. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you another question. I had a dream of two gods, and I just wanted to know, could that be like a sign that my Kundalini is asking me to pray to the two particular gods that I had a dream of? And I know it was a message.
Who are they?
Vishnu Narayan, and the other one was Lord Hanuman.
Okay. So the Monkey King. You had a dream where those two came to you?
And one dream, the first dream, the monkey came to me, and it was Hanuman, and I chant that mantra. So, and then the second dream was both at the same time. And
well, I think you've been calling them. If you've been chanting, the mantra to Hanuman, then you're calling that presence to you. That presence is a very real presence, and so you're chanting.
But not Hanuman. I never chanted the Vishnu, but that one showed up in my dream.
Well, Hanuman, you chanted the Hanuman one, right?
Yes.
Right, and so you basically are pulling Hinduism into your life, and so all aspects of Hinduism are going to be open to projecting itself into your life with regards to your dreams. It doesn't mean that you're Hindu. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you have to pray to the Hindu gods. It just means that maybe some of the qualities that Vishnu represents and that Hanuman represents are qualities that you want to look at in yourself as you go through your Kundalini. You got to remember, there is no higher point of spiritual refinement that goes beyond the Kundalini. Kundalini is it. It's the top of the pyramid. As you have the Kundalini, then you begin to live a divine life. And of course, living a divine life in a corporeal expression is a very, very strong school of experience. And so you'll have many lifetimes, having divine expression within you, within a corporeal body and corporeal system. It doesn't mean that any of the belief systems, any of them, I don't care if it's Hinduism or Christianity or Judaism, Buddhism, narcissism. Oh, did I say that? It doesn't matter. Those gods are coming to serve your Kundalini, and they're coming to help you with it. And so what I want you to do is I want you to look up what Vishnu means, and I want you to allow your Kundalini to choose the meaning that most resonates with it within you. Then I also want you to look up Hanuman, and I want you to choose, allow the Kundalini to choose what meaning Hanuman has for your equation. And then I want you to start to really incorporate those meanings, those understandings, those expressions. And I want you to feel really, really validated by your Kundalini for bringing these kinds of communications to you. Make sure you show gratitude to the Kundalini for allowing those levels of understanding to be given into you. And this will indeed aid you towards your spinal sweep.
Okay. I had received a message. I already looked up what Vishnu is, and he's the healer, which is I've been able to not heal people. Well, the Kundalini through me is able to remove the pain off of a person that is sick, and that was.
As long as you don't let your ego take credit for that.
No, I don't let my ego take credit for that. I try to stay away from anything that is going to draw me to the ego. So good. I always give credit to the Kundalini first.
Excellent. That's very, very good. Also, look at healing for you, for the past issues in your life, for things, and I'm looking at you right now, and I can tell you there's some work to be done there.
Okay.
Look at forgiving. Look at whatever grudges you may still be holding on to and why. And begin to ask the Kundalini to come in and help you. And you might start to really expand your unconditional love for yourself and for those around you and for the entire ecosystem that is your house. The entire ecosystem that your house's ecosystem is inside, which is the world. The entire solar system, which is inside a universe or a multiverse, and look at that and kind of see follow the dots, connect all the dots, and allow your Kundalini to really begin to teach you like it's doing. It sent you Hanuman and Vishnu for very, very, very specific reasons. And it allowed you to take the understandings from Hanuman and Vishnu in very, very specific ways. Follow those ways. Follow those ways. And as you're doing, give all credit to the Kundalini. Give all credit to the expression of the divine within you.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Chrism. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'll put you on the into the Shiva Blue here.
Okay.
And at this time, I believe there is some announcements that Tara typically make.
Hi, Chrism. Hi, everyone again. I'm going to make the announcement about where people can go to make a donation to the Kundalini Awakening Systems networks and to support Chrism in the work that he does. There are two places. The two of them are blog spots. The first one is www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and the next one is chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and you'll see the donate button there, and all donations are gratefully received, and please feel free to donate if you're in a position to do so and you would like to do so. Thank you, Chrism.
Thank you,
I have no other announcements.
Okay. Well, I want to just say that I've been doing this Kundalini work for about 11 years now, and I spent all my money doing this work, putting on seminars, and I spent all of the money that I had saved to do this work, and these donations allow me to eat, allow me to have shelter, allow me to have a computer connection so I can do this work. And so I never wanted to take donations. I really, I fought that really hard, but the Kundalini forced me to take these donations. And so it is true, as Santara says, all donations are really, really appreciated, but if you don't have a lot, make sure you take care of yourself first, is really what I'm saying. Generosity is greatly rewarded, and yet, I don't want you to be generous to a fault. I want you to be able to have your shelter, eat your food, put gas in your car as well. And so I want to just say thank you to everyone who has and who does donate some of their resources to the work that I do. And this is Santara is a great example. Rosemary is a great example. Eileen's a great example. These people, they don't give everything, but they give a certain amount so that this work can come out here. John and Amelia O'Connor are the ones who own this radio show. They started this radio show, and of course, as you know, Santara has been hosting and co-hosting this radio show since the beginning. And so this is also a level of donation, and of course with Rosemary and Eileen and the different folks that really come together to bring the seminars into existence so that other people can have this Kundalini awakening experience. And it's a very, very, very strong level of giving, and this giving is definitely rewarded by the Kundalini in the person. As you commit yourself and as you commit your resources to this work, so does this work commit itself to you and to your resources. So think about that for a little bit. And I would like to ask you, Santara, have you collected any questions from our various communities?
Yes, indeed, I have, Chrism. I'm going to get those now. And I would just like to, just before we move on, say that, in donating, there are so many ways to donate, donating financially, but what you say about the seminars, organizing a seminar, the time, the effort. There is so much given back from the Kundalini in doing that work for other people, of being of service. Words fail me to express what comes back. It's not why it's done, but that seems to be how it works. So it's a wonderful gift. It really is, to be able to do that. Okay. I have a few questions. Some of them are from the groups and some of them are private, that were sent to me. So I'll begin with one that was on the groups. It says, what does it mean when a mantra repeats in your head again and again and again and again?
It means that the Kundalini, or the spiritual forces that are guiding you towards your Kundalini, want you to live that mantra. They want you to really become the product of that mantra, i.e., they want you to start saying the mantra, but they want you to live the mantra at the same time. Now, let's look at the mantras that are available. The mantra would not be, I want to kill everyone, I want to take their money, I want to hurt them, I want to give them the most pain that I can ever give them, over and over. No, it is not that. Okay? So if that is a mantra that is coming to a person inside their head, forget it. Change the channel. This is not what we are talking about. If the mantra is supportive of a Kundalini process, a process that is in line, say, with the safety protocols such as tolerance and forgiveness, patience, trust, surrender, unconditional love, well then, of course, you can begin to incorporate that into your life. Over.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. Next question. Now, the next question is from the group. I've had this face, meaning their own physical face, for a lot of years, and I'm not shy of mirrors, so I know it pretty well. I have recently noticed it changing. I mean, my lips are a different shape, they're fuller, my cheekbones are higher. I just don't know. Question mark?
So what's the question?
Well, the question is, it seems to this person, I'm assuming is this Kundalini related?
The Kundalini can change your physical appearance. It can change the color of your eyes. It can change the complexion of your skin. It can change the shape of your head. There is no aspect of the human physical system, and actually the psychological and emotional system, and the mind body, that the Kundalini cannot change. You are like clay to the Kundalini, and she will form you in the way that it wants you to be with regards to the expression of the divine self coming through you. This is why you have the cranial plate migration. The cranial plate migration, that supports the Kundalini cone that develops over the fontanelle. And so yeah, it can change your eye color. It can change the shape of your eyes. It can give you wrinkles. It can get rid of wrinkles. It can change your nose. It can change your lips. It can change your teeth. It can change your strength. It can change the way you walk, how you run, whether you exercise, do you, don't you. It changes what you eat. It changes who you are from very, very basic levels. And of course, changing the way your lips are shaped and the way your other attributes that she mentions, or he mentions, whoever mentions in that question, it will change them, and it is very, very noticeable, and it is typically not a slow change. Sometimes it is, like the cranial plate migration may take some time, but eye color took time for me, but some of the other changes can be extremely rapid. The weight loss can be extremely rapid, but the person isn't losing weight in order to substantiate the ego wanting to look slim and beautiful. No, it's not. It's not taking the weight off the person to feed the ego. It's taking the weight off the person to help the person to allow for a greater level of balance, say along the spinal column, without like having so much belly fat that it pulls your spine into an artificial arch, whether you like it or not. And so it will get rid of that fat, and it will begin to realign the musculoskeletal system in a way that is proactive towards Kundalini. And any other aspect of the human system, the Kundalini has full permission and the ability to make any changes it wants. Over.
Thank you. Is it possible to connect with the divine through prana or breath?
Yes. Period. Over.
That's too short.
Okay. All right. Prana. Can you contact the divine through prana? Of course. Can you contact the divine through chi? Of course. Can you contact the divine without prana and without chi? Of course. You have, the typical human body has approximately 17 trillion cells. So there are 17 trillion potential individuals that represent you, all stuck together into one body of expression. That one body of expression of one single cell within you is fully conversant with the divine. One does not have to rely upon chi or prana in order to communicate with divinity. One can just start talking to divinity, thinking towards divinity, praying towards divinity, conversing with divinity. You don't need chi, you don't need prana, you don't need electromagnetism, you don't need biochemical responses. Well, maybe, if you're a living corporeal being, you might. You don't need to go outside of who you are, I guess is really what is being said. You don't need to go on this endless search for prana. Oh my gosh, will I be able to talk to God through pranayama? Let me do that alternate nostril breathing because I need to talk to God because I need a Lamborghini payment. How am I going to get this payment for this super fast hot rod car? I better go to God for that. You don't need an energetic structure in order to speak to the divine because the divine is already within you and has been within you life after life and including this life. It is there. It is with you. You can just start talking to it. Unless you live in Ireland. Then you have to have a pint first. Then you can talk to it.
Then it's easy. Okay, next question. During the spinal sweep, I was uneasy and I panicked as I had a strange feeling in the crown when Kundalini reached there. I went into the balcony and I went to the balcony and prayed to the sun and recited the Gayatri mantra. Thank you. Then a second sun appeared on the horizon simultaneously, and I was even more frightened, and I ran inside the house. What does the second sun indicate?
Well, I'm looking at their equation. So this isn't a universal equation for people. For this specific individual, this person's receiving some psychic information. The two that are one and the one that is two. It's not just, the sacred male that comes as a ball of light. It's also sacred feminine can come as a ball of light too. And that second sun arriving on the horizon, just as easily a vision of sacred feminine as well as a vision of sacred male, and especially when they're on the same horizon, that can indicate a joining or a marriage. But the fact that they're having fear during a spinal sweep, that's of more interest to me. You don't necessarily get to have fear during a spinal sweep. And so I'm really kind of questioning whether they had a spinal sweep at all, or at least, some permutation of one. When you're having a spinal sweep, fear is really not allowed to come in. It's totally displaced by the presence of the divine union within you. And so you don't necessarily get to run out to the balcony and have a prayer session, and then look at the horizon, go, oh, look, there's two suns now. Then run back into the house and go, oh my God. So you don't necessarily get to have that. What you get to have are feelings of unity, are feelings of of love that is so expanded, so inclusive of everything, that it takes away any expression of fear that a person could really have. The unconditional aspect of that love is so strong and so pure that fear, which is a quality of the ego, doesn't really get to stand present within that force. So I'm thinking that they had maybe more of a mystical experience or some permutation of Kundalini activation rather than a full spinal sweep, and then to allow themselves to be scared or frightened, by the appearance of the sun or by some of the sensations that they were feeling on their crown chakra. I'm gonna look at that with a little bit of a quotation mark around the idea that they're able to experience fear during a spinal sweep. Over.
Thank you very much, Chrism. The next question. I have seen people who claim to be Kundalini awakened totally disagree with each other. Like one says there is no reincarnation into the physical body after an awakening, and the other says, yes, there could be. One says all the chakras must be purified before an awakening happens, and the other says purification begins after the awakening. How can such contrasting truths be truth?
Well, both of them are speaking from levels of ego. It's not all just one way, you see. That's the problem. People want it to be their way. That's the one way for them, and so therefore, that one way for them must be that one way for everybody else on the planet. That in and of itself is an egoic expression. Absolutism within the context of Kundalini is not helpful, and sometimes I admit I do fall into it. So, for instance, when I'm fairly absolutist about not talking to discarnate entities or having communication with discarnate entities, because I've seen the results of this over and over and over, and I've had the results myself as well. I know exactly what that's about. But as far as the issues that they bring up, people still will have a hold on their ego, and in some cases, their ego will become expanded with their version of Kundalini. It's like, oh, well, because my Kundalini is awakened now, or at least they say it is. And that's another thing, is people say they're Kundalini awake, and they're not. But they say they are, because they want to be seen that way, because there's a big ego push these days. Kundalini is the next big thing on the horizon. That's going to be the next big New Age blossoming event on the horizon. And they all want to get into positions of power, people coming to them and praying to them and saying, oh, Master, Master this, Master that. Oh, my gosh, your Kundalini is, and they haven't even got it awakened yet. Okay, and so of course they're going to have a lot of contrasting expressions of absolutism. And I'm just going to suggest that those people who really have the Kundalini don't really need to argue about that stuff. Now I will. I have the Kundalini, but on my communities, if I see people getting led astray by an absolutist remark like those, Santara, I would have jumped right in there and I would have said, you're both right and you're both wrong. Stop.
That wasn't on the group quiz, and that was a private question.
Ah, okay, yeah. Well, see, I would have really jumped on that, and I would have said, you're both right, you're both wrong. Kundalini is not just one way. Each individual is this huge, unique multiverse in and of themselves. Let me give you an example. I do what is called Kundalini-infused therapeutic touch. But I take it even further than just touching people. I go into their energetic anatomy. I go into the 5 different anatomies that make up a human being, and I'm given to see certain things and to know certain things and to manipulate certain things to help them within their ego process. And it's the Kundalini in me that is doing this. The idea that we are all one is so amazingly mistaken. It is such a huge error. And because we are not all one. We all have different experiences in our lives, in our past lives, in our karmic baggage that we bring into this life, in our current life that is based upon our past lives, that has all the karmic baggage. No karmic baggage ever gets to be left. Nothing gets to be ignored. It's all going to be balanced. And there's a lot of it for most people. It is what it is. Each person is so radically unique, that to say that, oh, we are one, is just an expression of ignorance. Innocent ignorance, to be sure, but and a lot of loving, wishful thinking, I think, within this. But we are so very radically different that even as we come into divine union, those differences are still there. Now I know I'm going against a lot of what people think they know. They intuitively know, oh, we are one, and well, we are all particles of divinity. So yes, within that oneness, we are all particles of grace, and so therefore, from the standpoint of particles of grace, then yes, there is unity, there is oneness there. But that is not all that we are. We also have our evolution on this planet, and the evolution is necessary. This is why we're here, and we are not all here for the same reason. To suggest that we are one within that context is entirely mistaken. We are not one. We are many, striving to remember our oneness. And most people, whether they admit it or not, are not remembering their oneness. It's a spinal sweep that will help you remember your oneness. That is the key. And until people begin to understand that, they're going to have a lot of arguments about which way is the right way, which way is the incorrect way, and which way you got to do this in order to get that, and you got to do that in order to get this. And these two different people, are just basically they're still within their ego. They're still not looking at the expansiveness of Kundalini, at the expansiveness of the divine creation, where such extreme levels, billions and billions of levels of unique expression can be condensed into the oneness of divine unity. But that takes Kundalini, and Kundalini is happening to a very, very small percentage of people on this world. And yet people just, they mouth the words. They mouth the words, and I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not putting a judgment on that. They mouth the words, oh, we are one, we are one, we are one. And frankly, I hope that they mouth those words enough that it turns into, to reference the previous question, into a mantra within themselves. We are one, we are one, we are one. And maybe that will help, that little mantra would help them begin an activation into the Kundalini process, if it's anything other than say just ego-based desires to feel correct, spiritually correct, or spiritual competition. We're all one, and therefore we're all one, and then now we can start adding dimensions of oneness, like 5D seems to be a really popular one. 3D, 5D, 4D, 2D. Heck, I just go up to 9D just for the heck of it. Let's go up to 90. 90. Anyway. So the people that are competing their understandings of how Kundalini works within the system, They are just falling prey to their own egotistic attachments to what occurred for them and not extending the opportunity for differences in approach within the Kundalini construct for each individual. They're not appreciating the vive la différence, the let's honor the difference in each other instead of just promoting oneness. Let's promote diversity of understanding and diversity of activation sequencing within the body. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question. Is it possible for a person whose Kundalini is awakened to know that another person who says their Kundalini has awakened has not awakened?
Yeah.
That's very badly phrased, but I think you follow it. Do you?
Yeah, you can sense this in a person. I mean, and it depends on why are you looking? Why are you looking at them? Why do you have a doubt? What's going on in your head that you want to look at that person and go, well, maybe they don't have it awakened because I don't agree with what they're saying, so therefore they must not be awakened. So I get that a lot, because I'm not following Sanatana. I'm not following the ancient Hindu or the contemporary Hindu, nor am I following Christianity or Buddhism, the 8 paths of this or that. I'm not following any of those things. I'm following what the Kundalini in me is giving to the Kundalini in other people and to the conscious minds of other people. And so somebody in the inside of these belief systems will go, oh my God, how can that American gringo, North Californian United States citizen, how can he have Kundalini? He's not doing any of the things that we know is conducive to Kundalini awakening. He's just faking it. He's a fake guru. I actually am on sites that are called fake guru, the site of fake gurus. So they they put me on the fake guru site. I never really considered myself a guru. That's kind of an Eastern term. But anyway, so you want to look at whether people are I'm still on the competition question, right?
You're on. Yeah, in a way, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I felt myself drifting into other areas here because it does. It is a big area for people, and there's a lot of competition going on, and they call me a fake guru because I don't ascribe to any of their policies. I mean, the Kundalini came to me with pranayama. I didn't know it was called pranayama. Kundalini came to me with the 5 Tibetans saying, yeah, practice these. Kundalini came to me and said, okay, you need to teach this, and that, and in this way. And so it just so happens that it resonates with people that that there is truth to what the Kundalini in me is giving for people to do. And it goes right outside religion. And nobody that's in that religion likes anybody that's going to go outside of that religion, because to them, that religion is the end-all, be-all of all creation, and they got their whole creation myth and the whole bit. And so nothing that is outside of that can be true to them, because it's not accepting their particular god or goddess or whatever it is. Okay. The same with these two people that are arguing about which is real. They just need to get their ego out of the way and allow that the Kundalini will come to a person the way it decides to come to a person, whether that person is enmeshed in a spiritual practice or not, whether that person practices in a certain way or not, whether the Kundalini comes into them that is familiar reference points for anybody else or not. Over.
Great, Chrism, thank you. This is a question for myself. I came across a reference recently about entities and braiding, and I think the term soul braiding might have been used. And
did you say entities and gravy, like turkey gravy?
No.
What?
No. Okay, let me slow down.
You're trying to throw me for a loop, are you? I can tell. See, folks, see what Welcome to my world. Entities are crazy. Well, I think if you mash them up well enough, they'd be fine.
So the word is braiding.
Oh, now we're going into... Okay.
Yeah.
Braiding.
And I'm like, why does a soul braid if a soul braids? And why would they stay that way? Are they unable, can they not unbraid? These are things that
these are agreements.
I heard reference to. Yeah.
Soul braiding, that's fairly old, new agey stuff. You can see some of that in the Seth material, and Jane Roberts channeling this and that, and the education of Oversoul 7 and all that stuff. And it speaks to oversouls and things of that nature. Not necessarily true for all people. Soul braiding is just people that have made agreements to like families will do a lot of soul braiding. So, for instance, Amelia, Jonathan, your son, your 15-year-old, right? 15? Right?
He's 16 now.
16. So Jonathan could have been your great grandfather.
Yes.
And he accepted a soul braid with you to be a child of yours and John in this life. There is a soul braid or a karmic connection between the two of you and all your kids. Okay, soul braiding is just kind of a really romanticized expression of people incarnating together in specific lifetimes for specific reasons. And all the reasons evolve around karma and the progression towards the divine Godhead, which is what Kundalini is. Then we get into, you can get into other areas like the Atakarana. The Atakarana, where you have the three divine threads that extend from the fontanelle into the Kundalini cone, and then you braid the Atakarana, and then that opens you up to a whole level of chakra overlays, which you place, which fit exactly over the current energetic anatomy, and form an augmented other set of energetic anatomy. So instead of having 7 chakras, you'd have like 14 to 16 chakras, and they're all working in different levels of expression upon the human being. And frankly, that doesn't really, I don't see that really helps anybody on this world, even if they're having it. It's not something that you really need to put out there in the way that people are going to be able to get it in a very logical, linear way. They're not going to get that. Most people aren't even going to get to the point where the Antakarana can be braided at all. That takes a few lifetimes to get into that, and so it's really kind of the whole braiding issue really is about karma. It's about karma and choosing to participate in each other's karma for the balancing of that karma. Over.
Okay, Chrism, thank you very much. Can I ask you about guides and
who?
As a child?
Guides? You're asking me about guides? What?
Guides.
Guys? Guys?
No. Guides. Guide? Spiritual guide. Guardian, let's call it. A spiritual guardian, a guardian angel. Yeah? That would be around children. And that would give invisible assistance to children, or that would help us out in ways that we're hardly aware of as children. Could you say something about that?
Well, first of all, I love the way you say children. It reminds me of that character that Benny Hill played in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and he goes, children.
I know the one. When he's inside of the cage, yeah?
Yeah, that's
in
right,
the cage.
That's right. He drives around with the cage.
What's that song? There's a
Anyway,
song.
yeah. What about them? What about guides as children?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, would you say something about children and, guardian angels and, being given invisible assistance and help?
Well, I was given a lot of invisible assistance and help and I had different guides. I got to actually meet my corporeal guides. Very nice people. Very nice, I should say, projections of people. They do work hard. They do try to protect you. They do try to help the child not wander into the street. They do try to help the child not to come into levels of danger. They operate from a far more expanded level of unconditional love for the child. And yet, like all of us, they have to kind of adhere to the rules of physicality that exist here, that are not outside levels of unconditional love, but they're definitely inside levels of unconditional love. But they, you're allowed to have pain. You're allowed to be uncomfortable, and they know your karma. And so within that karmic understanding that they have about the individual, they make definite decisions about how to guide that child. So they'll guide the child as becoming a secret friend, or a voice like, go love your mommy right now, or things of that nature. They will allow you to have your nightmares. They will allow you to be afraid. They will allow you. I had very, very strong interaction with my guidance as a child, and yet I was still allowed to be transported to the Amazon jungle every single night, scaring me to pieces. I knew the howler monkeys that I would hear was not the heater like my mother suggested. And I knew, having been chased by demonic structures as a 6-year-old, I know what that felt like too. And the guidance allowed that to occur. So it's not taking away every challenge that a child is going to experience. Whether or not we feel that should happen. Oh my gosh, I don't want my little kid to have a nightmare. Oh my God, no. Not demonic structures.
No, it's not that. Okay, so for Chrism, when that child grows up, when the Kundalini activates and awakens, what happens in relation to the guides? I've heard you speak before.
The child does not have to grow up to have the Kundalini activate. Okay, that's a misnomer. Kundalini can activate.
Say that again, please.
I said the child does not have to grow up in order to have the Kundalini activate within them. That's a misnomer. You need Kundalini can come at any age, at any time, and that child is going to have to deal with that one way or the other. When the child grows, let's just say when the child ages and the Kundalini comes up, what then? Well, then the guidance that was once with them throughout their whole life will take a step back and allow the Kundalini Shakti, the sacred mother, to step in and take over guidance of that individual. They step back, and if they do not step back, then they are not of the quality of divinity that is supportive of Kundalini. They're more of an entity, more of a parasitical force upon the child, rather than a force of divine guidance upon the child.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Chrism. That's the end of questions. I'm just scrolling now to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of this falls under the level of unconditional love. All of this does. And one must really begin to reach in to where they form parameters of their love. Where do you decide, I'm not going to love that dog shit on the side of the road. I'm just not going to love that because it smells bad and it looks weird. And I'm just not going to love that because it's not nice. It's not pretty. It's not pleasant. It's not what I like to have around me. Therefore, it is not divine. It is not worthy of the love of the divine, and yet it builds the soil. I don't know if I mentioned on these programs before, but archaeologists have discovered an area in the Amazon jungle that supported up to 500,000 people. That's a huge population. I think I'm actually under-reporting it. That's a huge population to live inside of a jungle rainforest. And what these people did is they used the excrement of the humans and of other species, and they used it and they saturated the soil with this excrement and with different types of excrement, different types of layers of soil. They literally built over 6 feet of what science is calling the most powerful super soil that they know of, that they've currently discovered. And it's in this one, I don't know how many hectare area it is in the Amazon jungle. It's up to 6 feet deep and over. And these people knew how to use that excrement to build the soil. But we here in our Western know-it-all technology society, we're oh my God, that's a doggy do. Oh my God, don't step in it. Don't step. Oh God, wipe it off your shoe, please. Oh my, don't come in the house. You know, and we have these parameters of expectation and experience that does not resonate with qualities of expanded love. Now, granted, I don't like to step in doggy do at all, and I certainly won't track it in the house, but I do understand and I do appreciate its presence here. It is a nourishment of the sacred feminine, of the Shakti Kundalini. And it is why it looks the way it looks. It is why it looks like basically tubular soil. If you're having a normal bowel movement, or your dog is. It's a very, very, very important substance. It must be honored. Okay, all right. So really begin to look at these areas, my friends. Expand the qualities of your unconditional love. Expand it into divine love. Open your love through the Kundalini that's coming through you. Just the presence of the Kundalini. Don't worry so much about entities, or if you have an entity problem or this or that. Those are just fear areas that you're being tested with. Expand qualities of divine love to include your experience, and to include the experiences that you don't really feel are helpful for you at that time. That doesn't mean you hate them or whatever. It just means you begin to control what choices you're making and whatnot. So therefore, if an entity, a parasitical entity, comes along, you don't go into hatred of it. You just don't go into acknowledgement of it either. And if you choose to go into acknowledgement of it and it begins to interact with you, you just, through expanded qualities of unconditional love, you begin to control your space, which is your space, and you allow it to control its space, and you don't necessarily let the two interchange. You don't let them intermix. You don't need to do that. When you have the spinal sweep and you become at one with everything, well, then you know it from that perspective. You know the oneness from that perspective. You do not try to replicate that oneness within physical corporeal parameters. I.e., you don't become a channeler, you don't become a medium, you don't become, these types of things unless under very, very, very specific circumstances. So let me give you a very, very specific circumstance. John of God down there in Brazil, down in Abadiânia, Brazil, whom I've worked with 3 times now. He has a very, very, very conditioned scenario where he can have his life and he can have spiritual possession at the same time, for the positivity of the people that are coming there to get cured. They're not charging a single dollar for people to receive a blessing. They're not charging, even though it's costing them money, they're not charging people to receive the passion flower medication that everybody gets. I tested these theories out. I know for a fact that I did not have to pay the 60 reals that they wanted to charge for the passion flower medicine. So they're coming from levels of non-corruptive by virtue of money and by virtue of intention. They're coming from places that are striving not to be corrupted. Now, lately some of those positions are changing a little bit, but for the most part, I think that he is still working well within the parameters of grace that grace has allowed him to have as an expressive human of its healing force upon this world. And I'm sure there are other people around doing the same darn thing. Okay. Most people, however, are entering into greed, are entering into corruptive scenarios, certainly with regards to healing. Just look at Reiki. Oh, yeah, I'm a Reiki master teacher's master. And, and because I'm a Reiki teacher's master teacher's master, I'm going to charge, 1,000 million for my divine touch upon the person. No, I would not let that person lay a hand on me. And I would guide you not to as well. You go for those people that are pursuing the noble qualities of forgiveness and tolerance and patience and trust and love, and the many facets of love. And these are the people that you look at a little more, with greater levels of clarity, because they are not following the pack, so to speak. And they are following a closer understanding of unconditional love. When you come down to a place, when you come to any place in this world where people are not charging you to be there, where you can be there and receive actual guidance, actual healing, these are actual expressions of unconditional love. Okay? Any questions about that, Santara?
No.
I see Phil Karuba is typing, but I don't know what he's typing, so I can't see it. It takes so long for the typing of people to get everything. Yeah. So Phil, you better wrap it up quick, because I'm getting ready to end the show.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Well,
he
I'm
says,
going to after this show.
Wait, please. Phil Karuba asks, can Chrism answer a question for me? Does the entering the kingdom of the Father, Kunalini, well, already we're putting, judgments, and we're assigning gender to Kundalini, which, first of all, big mistake. So, okay, there we go. The kingdom of the Father, and he's saying that's Kundalini, signal that we have put an end to the reincarnation cycle. No, absolutely not. And then the other question is, when we die, our souls will take their place in the heavenly realm. No. No. I don't know where you get this, Phil. This is good, but it's not accurate. First of all, entering the kingdom of the Father is not the point. It's entering the kingdom of the Mother and the Father. Hello, Sacred Feminine Phil. Hello, Sacred Feminine Phil. And does that signal that we have put it to an end to the reincarnational cycle? This is a Sanatana thing. This is a Hindu thing. And this is not true. It is not true. Period. When you have come into the kingdom of the Sacred Mother and the Sacred Father, well, they were still patriarchal. Phil said this is from the Lost Gospels of the Nag Hammadi. They were still, the Essenes were a very, very patriarchal society. And so, part of this is where Christianity gets a lot of its overemphasis upon the male part, turning Mary Magdalene into a prostitute and all this other garbage. But no, it is the Sacred Mother and the Sacred Father that we come into, and it does not end the reincarnational cycle. There's a whole level of reincarnation that requires the person have these gifts, has the Kundalini inside of a population that doesn't. And where do you make the mistakes? Where do you do the good work then? Okay? How can you have great levels of power surrounded by people that don't? And what do you do with that level of power? And how are you self-aggrandizing with it? How are you holding it? How are you allowing it to hold you? What is going on with you? Are you doing what John of God does? Are you healing people? Are you educating people? Are you helping people come into the Kundalini? Are you giving the focus onto the divine rather than to the self? What are you doing with it? There are so many reincarnational cycles that have to do with having Kundalini in the body rather than just, oh, you got Kundalini, okay, you don't have to come back. This is what I was saying is part and parcel of the Hindu tradition. The Hindu takes this tradition as well, not just the Essenes. The Hindu takes this tradition. I don't recall reading that from the Lost Gospels of the Nag Hammadi, but maybe so. I trust Phil that you're not just reading somebody who is deciphering that with a specific agenda. But yeah, entering the kingdom of the Father and the Mother, rather than just the Father, is far more correct a version. It's just amazing me. These desert communities, they just really love to step on their women hard. The best that the sacred feminine can produce within that ideology is to become a hooker. This is ridiculous. And so we need to really just take those things out, replace it with Father and Mother or Mother and Father, and don't, just because a belief system is thousands of years old doesn't make it right. It doesn't lend it legitimacy. You can see that right here with this. When entering the kingdom of the Father, that we have put an end to the reincarnational cycle. This, and I no offense to you, Phil. I'm glad you brought this up because it really, really is something that is so pervasive in our society that women are somehow less. Such a crock of you know what. It's such a crock of super soil. That is a crock of super soil. It's super soil to be. But I thank you, Phil. I think that was an excellent question. And it does, boy, I could just do a whole show on that whole thing about, how the maligning of sacred femininity from Zoroastrianism all the way up through Christianity and of course the Nag Hammadi and the Jewish texts and the Hindu texts and the Sanatana belief system. Yeah. You don't get to just call an end to it because you activated the Kundalini. And Phil goes on, he says, well, the Holy Spirit is said to be the feminine aspect. Oh my gosh, well, if the Holy Spirit is the feminine aspect, well then I would think that the feminine aspect of the Holy Spirit is allowed to enter or to be part of the kingdom of the Father. I would say that the Holy Spirit is both male and female, just like the Kundalini is both male and female and male. It's good, though. It's good. I appreciate what you're writing there. What you're writing there. We have to break out of the idea that feminine is somewhat less. This is just mind programming. This is programming that the Essenes had before them. This is programming that might is right. You know, so in those desert communities where you're hunting for your food and you're hunting, you have to go out and kill things in order to survive. So the masculine aspect would be the most powerful thing, so because they could go out there, kill the lion or kill the deer, protect whatever. And that's just taken that's taken that example of the natural environment into an area where it doesn't really apply. Because in order to have a giant sacred male, somebody had to give birth to that sacred male. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't the king. King Solomon wasn't spreading his legs and giving birth to anybody, but Mrs. Solomon was. So let's give credit where credit is due. And that's equal credit to divine feminine and divine masculine, in my humble opinion. And Phil goes on to write, the Holy Spirit is given priority above the Father and the Son. Okay. I mean, you can go into the past and you can pull out these little jewels, but you want to make sure that you remember the context in which they were written, the lifestyle, the environment of the people who are writing them, putting them on these copper scrolls. It is sacred feminine and sacred male at the same time. That's how a person becomes enlightened. God can come along and just enlighten a person with a wave of a hand, and that does happen. But within the Kundalini context, it takes two to make one. It takes two to make one. And that one becomes two. So we are singular and plural at the same time. Phil goes on to write. He says, according to the Gospels, anyone who speaks against the Father shall be forgiven. And anyone who speaks against the Son shall be forgiven. But anyone who speaks against the Holy Spirit shall not be forgiven. And so once again, these folks are not practicing unconditional love, obviously. At least if the author of these words is if we can really ascribe to them as being the sole voice of the Essenes. So I've just been given my 90-second warning, and so I want to say, Santara, give them a last word, my dear.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chrism. I'm going to go forward into my week, starting this very minute, honouring unconditional love, expressing it and receiving it. And thank you very much for everything that you said today. I hold it in my heart. See you all next week. Thank you. Bye.
See you all next week. And I've been giving my 60-second warning now by BlogTalk. And I want to thank Phil and Vincent, Mary Jean, and the two different guests that are still here. Alana Seeker, hello to you. And I want to say thank you to everybody, and most importantly, thank you to my Kundalini in me that is communicating to your Kundalini in you. Thank you, everyone.